Welcome back. As you saw in the previous lessons, security measures in Dolibarr is an important thing to consider. And permissions is one big thing. And I just wanted to share with you how I'm managing the permissions for my Dolibarr users. First, let's go to the setup. Okay. Then we will go to security, default permissions. Okay. Here, first I will deactivate all the permissions. So by default, whenever a user created in my Dolibarr installation, he will have no permissions at all. After that, creating a user, I will add him to a group or I will give him his precise permissions. How do I deactivate the the permission or activate it? Now, as we are in the default permission page, here you can see point of sale. I will remove it. Read tags and categories. I will remove it. And we will do that for all of the granted permissions within the default permissions page. Okay. Now after we finish, as you see default permissions, there is nothing in front of it. So all of the users, once we are creating a new user, he or she will have none, no permission at all. Then after that, after I created my user, I will go to users and groups. I will go to the list of groups. I will assign this new user to a group. Let's say I will assign him for the sales group. Okay. Then I will come to the list of the users in this group. I will search for him. Let's say Albert. Okay. I will add. Now this user, this Einstein, he is a part of the sales group. In the group permissions, I will give all members of this group access to all of the agenda, okay, and to all of the tags and categories. They can create, they can modify, they can delete. No, let's say I don't want them to delete it, so I will remove this, okay. Say they have the access to read, the access to create and modify, but they cannot delete the category. Now let's say that these are only permissions I want to give to sales group. I will go to group card. Now as you can see here, this group have 9 permissions. 9 permissions within Dolibarr. And as we discussed before, it's important to think about the users and the groups that you will have within Dolibarr. You take a piece of paper, a pen, just write them down, write the different users, the different groups, and think about what modules you want them to have an access to. Now let's say I want to give a specific user a specific permissions. We will go to the list of users. Then let's say I'm giving the bookkeeper, okay. As I open the user card, I will go to permissions. As you can see here, he already have 37 permissions. Click on permissions. I want the bookkeeper to have an access to all accounting modules, to all accounting functionality, to all accounting module functionality. I will click all. Now he have the permissions. He can bind the products, he can read operations, he can write edit operations, he can read and export reports, he can define and close my financial year, he can manage my chart of account. All these things now has been granted to the bookkeeper. As you can see, this is like an overview of how I'm dealing with the permissions thing to keep more control on it. Maybe you have a better idea or a better way to deal with it. I just like to discuss this with you, giving you an idea how to deal with the permissions. Now, one last thing to be mentioned regarding the permissions. For security reasons, I would recommend that you create a user with all permissions for all modules, but without the administrator access. He cannot access or she cannot access the admin menu. Why is that? Let's say you have an emergency and you want some of your Dolibarr users to modulate something within one of the applications of Dolibarr application, but at the same time you don't want them to have an administrator access. So by creating this user, you can provide this access so they can manipulate the system, they can fix the issue without having an actual administrator access. How can we do that? We will go to the users and group menu. Then we will create a new user. We will enter the information. Here in the administrator, no, he is not an administrator. Gender, employee, yes, supervisor, all the information like any regular user. Then we will create the user. We will go to the permissions. We will choose all. And we will do that for all of the Dolibarr modules until we finish. We finish them all. So this user, this emergency user, will have an access for all of Dolibarr modules, but not having an administrator access. Thank you for watching. See you in the next lesson.